This segment brought to you by the Art Gallery of Grande Prairie. Visit aggp.ca.
Well, the exhibition was originally organized by the Varley Art Gallery in Unionville, just outside of Toronto, and then went to the Albright Knox Art Gallery in Buffalo, which was very important because that's a sort of a major museum for abstract expressionist American painting, and the Automatistes are kind of the Canadian counterpart. So then the show kind of got disassembled and the works were sent home to the lenders. Then suddenly there was a great interest in the West. So I was asked to put it back together again, and it reopened at the Art Gallery of Alberta in Edmonton, and then very fortunately came to Grande Prairie, and from here it goes on to the Mendel Art Gallery in Saskatoon. The exhibition is called the Automatiste Revolution. And the Automatistes were a group of artists that emerged in Montreal in the 1940s. And they gathered around an older painter whose name is Paul-Émile Bourdois, born in 1905, who had been a fairly traditional painter until in 1941, suddenly he painted his first abstract painting. And it was kind of revolutionary in Montreal. So all these younger artists who were tired of the traditional teaching at the École des Beaux-Arts or wherever gathered around him, and he was very charismatic. And for them, abstraction, or abstraction that was generated by a sort of kind of automatic writing that you, in a sense, you cleared your mind, you laid down a gesture, that suggested another gesture, and that suggested another gesture, until a full painting developed out of that. And the point, of course, was the kind of total, what they believed in, their total freedom in working that way, because they felt very oppressed under the Duplessis regime, under the kind of state-church alliance, the Catholic Church and the Quebec government. And that's what they wanted liberation from.
The curator of the show, Roald Naasgard, is also author of the book Abstract Painting in Canada.
Well, I've been sort of in the museum world for a long time, since sometime in the mid-70s. But then at some point I got a commission to write a book on history of abstract painting in Canada. And the first publisher went broke before it got published. The moment I got the commission, I bought a camcorder and traveled Canada from east to west, visiting every possible artist I knew that was working with abstract painting. Then I sat down and began to write, and rather than being the 60,000 words it was supposed to be, ended up being 225. I don't know why it took me so long to make, but the moment I made the count, of course, I started chewing my fingernails. How will I ever cut this down? How can I sacrifice all this work? Then I got an email from my publisher saying, whoops, we're broke, project canceled. So then I had to shop it around. And nobody wanted to touch it. There's no market for this, was the answer. In the third week of September, I got this long 3-page email commitment to publish. And, but he was still worried that there wasn't a market. So he printed 3,000 hardcover copies. To his amazement, to my amazement, everybody's amazement, it sold out in 3 months and then came out in paperback. But it was it was the right time. The market was getting very interested in post-war Canadian abstract painting. The auctioneers were gearing up. They were publishing separate auction catalogues for post-war Canadian painting. So it was sort of the right things all came together at that moment.
The Automatiste Revolution is free to view at the Art Gallery of Grande Prairie, and more information is at the gallery's website.
This segment brought to you by the Art Gallery of Grande Prairie. Visit aggp.ca.